I think what you find is students come in who have interest, but they don't know how to monetize that in a way. And now we can say to them, if this is what you want to do, we will train you with the knowledge and skills that you need to be successful at that.
There's a new interdisciplinary degree program at Fort Hays State University in philosophy, leadership studies, sociology, and applied business. It's the new religious education program. I'm Becky Kiser, Hays Post Eagle Radio News, and I'm talking with Dr. Carl Miller. He's Associate Professor of Philosophy and also the University President, Dr. Tisa Mason, on this episode of the Hays Post Podcast.
We've really seen a growth on campus in our faith-based student organizations, which is phenomenal, and a lot of different churches represented and organizations. And so we've heard from our students that they would like to delve a little bit more in possibly youth ministry. And so our academic partners, and Dr. Miller will carry this interview because he's really worked hard and knows a lot about this. And I just join you in the excitement for this opportunity for not only our students, but our state and our country.
It's really exciting. So, Dr. Miller, you're in the philosophy department. Now,
Yes.
There is a connection, though, with philosophy and religion. Tell us a little bit about that in this interdisciplinary program.
Well, the philosophy department typically and traditionally has been associated with religion programs. When I was an undergraduate, our program was philosophy and religion. So there's a long tradition of answering those kinds of questions in one program. This opportunity is about training people in a more practical way. So, for example, when you take a philosophy class, you're often looking at more abstract questions like ethics and the nature of religion. This program is designed specifically to prepare people for careers where they would use these skills. One of the challenges in a traditional philosophy program is that people want to know, what can I do with that? Right? What can I do if I study ethics and if I study metaphysics and the theory of knowledge? But here we can actually give them some direction and say, this will provide you with a suite of skills that will make you both marketable and useful to the organizations you join.
Do you have people who specialize, who are just philosophy majors, or are you going to kind of push them in this direction? It is brand new, the program.
Our philosophy major itself was discontinued, and we're teaching out the people in this. So we will no longer offer a standalone philosophy major, though at some point, maybe if the numbers increase, that's a social problem. People are not as interested in the humanities in some ways as they have been traditionally. So this is a standalone program. This is not connected with a philosophy major. It is its own program.
And is there a separate religion area or religion department?
We do the religion courses as well.
That is you.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So interesting. Dr. Mason was talking about that there are young people who are interested in leadership in doing this, and that there is a wide variety of faith-based interests. How do you decide what areas people are going to look at? What are they going to talk about in this program?
Well, the idea of the program is that it's training people to do a variety of things. So, for example, youth ministry. So people who want to be youth ministers but don't want to go to seminary and become a senior pastor, for example, or somebody who wants to go into a nonprofit organization where they might work with underprivileged children and within a religious environment. So this would train them with a whole variety of skills and knowledge base that would prepare them to take on those kinds of jobs.
You were saying earlier that you actually have your first major ready to go, and you're going to start this in the fall?
It starts in the fall, yeah. The program has been approved at all levels, and in the fall we will start offering the major, and we met with a student 2 days ago who looks like she's going to double major in perhaps leadership studies.
Leadership studies would be perfect to go along with that.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. So what kinds of courses, what specifically are the students going to study?
So there's a variety of religion courses. Some of them are required, some of them are optional. So we'll offer courses in the biblical studies, for example, world religions, science and religion, philosophy of religion, where they'll look at arguments for the existence of God, just so they're familiar with those. These are not intended to persuade them to believe any particular thing, but we want to prepare them with a broad knowledge base that they'll need as they interact with people in the faith communities. But we also are offering courses from the sociology department and from the leadership program. We're offering grant writing courses. We're offering courses in marketing, because what we've realized is that when people go into these organizations, they need to bring with them skills that'll complement that organization. So if you come in and you say, look, I know how to work in an organization because I've taken these leadership courses. I know how to go out and find grants that will support us financially. I know how to work in a classroom. All of those kind of skills. I know what an organization looks like. I have some sociology classes in death and dying and counseling. So if you bring all of that to the table, it's very likely that the organization is going to say, we need those skills. And we were delighted to have someone who possesses them.
That is really, really interesting and exciting. I'm sure there are people out there who have it in their heart that they want to serve, but the practical application, some of these programs that you've mentioned, would be very important to be able to provide those skills as well, especially when you're starting out as a new person or a new program.
Right. Yeah, we think of this in two terms. One is that we want to prepare students to be able to find work. But we also want to be useful to those organizations who hire those people. And we want our students to be able to say to them, I have learned how to write. I've learned how to think. I've learned how to operate within an organization. I know how to go out and find you money. I know how to teach. So when you bring to the table all of those skills, then you become marketable and you become useful to the people you're working for.
And how about those people that are potential employers? How are you reaching out to them, letting them know that this is available?
Well, one of the things we discovered when we started thinking about this program is that there are a lot of organizations like churches and small communities that are desperate to find youth ministers or congregational care leaders, and they simply can't find anything. So we've been in touch with churches asking about what are your needs? What are you looking for? We've been talking to organizations as well and saying, what do you need? What would be helpful to you? And so the program was actually designed from the perspective of looking at the goal.
Excellent. It's early, I know, but do you have a feel for commonalities among the students who would enroll in the program? Dr. Mason was talking about the young people being so interested in religion now. Are they traditional age students? Do you have older students you expect might come in? And why are they doing this?
Right. I think there's a couple different groups of students. As Dr. Mason mentioned, there seems to be an uprise in religious interest among students. So I teach the biblical studies classes, and right now I'm teaching Old Testament, and we have 30 students online and 20 on campus.
Wow.
So there's a lot of interest, even apart from this program. The other group we see a lot of philosophy students pursuing are those who are coming back after they've gotten a career, after they've had children, and they want to participate in the conversation, right? They look at the world and think things could be better, and I need to train myself how to participate in that world. And so you get people coming to us saying, how do I participate in public discourse? I need to be able to identify who's telling me the truth and who isn't. How do I do that?
More important than ever these days.
Right. And so we offer courses in critical thinking. We offer courses in religion and so forth. And this program will complement that discussion.
Now, Tisa, you were telling me earlier that this brings together existing resources, that it just it's a matter of pulling things together, and there's no real great big expenditure to start the program.
Right. And so it's there are some new courses, but generally speaking, it is the same faculty that are working differently across the institution. As Dr. Miller said, with leadership studies, a lot came from leadership studies as well, sociology, religious studies. And so we don't have to hire anybody new, but we've got faculty talking different conversations across the universities and meeting this great workforce need and societal need, personally, is what I feel. And I just think it's brilliant. It's energetic. It's needed. I'm so proud of our faculty for coming together and doing this. And I know our students are going to show up and be very excited about this.
Is this unusual or unique among the Kansas Region system?
Yes. And I think Dr. Miller can really address that with some data.
Yes. So several years ago, the Kansas Board of Regents commissioned a report from an outside agency to come in and review the different programs. And one of the things they pointed to was that there were a number of job needs that nobody was satisfying. And so our assistant dean of the college came to us and said, I think the philosophy program might be able to offer something in this area. So we were not the ones who discovered this need. It was actually an outside agency who came in and said, there is need for these kinds of careers. Can you provide a degree that'll help them?
We've also heard from our students who, again, are involved in their churches, and they see a future and a passion in this space, and they don't know, like, leadership wasn't enough or philosophy, religious studies wasn't enough. And so they've also identified this as something that they would like to do in their future, and so it meets student demand as well.
It sounds almost like we were talking about the need for this, including a societal need now. Are you finding, Dr. Miller, that the students is this within them as individuals, or are they looking at the broad picture and realizing, that this is a career and it's a niche that I could fill?
I think there's two things going on. One is that it's a personal need, a desire to interact with their faith, to be involved in a way that fulfills their religious needs. But it's also a desire to be able to work, to find employment. And when you show them that they can actually integrate both of those into a single major program, there's a lot of excitement. I think what you find is students come in who have interest, but they don't know how to monetize that in a way. And now we can say to them, if this is what you want to do, we will train you with the knowledge and skills that you need to be successful at that.
It'd be nice to be able to make a living at what you're really interested in.
Absolutely, yeah. If you can find a way to monetize your passion, that's ideal.
In this part of the country, we have a lot of Christian-based faith. Are you looking at other faiths? Are people going to be studying them even now?
Well, ideally, we would want to offer the faiths that are useful to the students. But in this part of the country right now, that tends to be Christianity. However, we are open to developing new programs if there is a need for that. And some of the existing courses would be useful for whatever faith. And for example, we offer world religions. So you'll be familiar with what the Buddhists believe and what Muslims believe and what Hindus believe. So whether you're Jewish or Christian or Muslim, you will be familiar at least with the variety of religions available.
That'd be good for all of us in this day and age to understand each other a little bit better.
Yes.
Do you have an idea how many people are interested in this? I mean, and how can they get more information as they find out about it, the students?
Well, the amount of interest so far is mostly anecdotal in terms of our students. However, we have reached out to churches and talked to ministers who have told us there is, in fact, a need within the church at the moment for people who can do, say, congregational care, who can do youth ministry, even music ministry, right?
Sure.
So this major does well associated with something else. Let's say you wanted to be a music minister. Well, we can teach you about the religious element. We can teach you about the skills you'll need, but then you could also major in music and develop that aspect as well.
I'm wondering, you talked about two different groups, the young students, traditional age students, and then those that are kind of looking at a second career. Mm-hmm. Is there, across the board, are the pastors and the priests and the leaders of churches, are they aging? Are they looking for younger people to come in?
In terms of specific ministers, such as youth ministers, there's absolutely a considerable need. Whether there's a need for senior pastors is a different question, and I'm not prepared to answer that because we're not preparing people for those positions.
Sure.
However, if somebody wanted to go into full-time ministry and wanted to go to a seminary, this would be an excellent undergraduate preparation for that.
And how can people get more information, Dr. Miller?
They can reach out to the philosophy program. We are connected with the history program, so it's actually a Department of History and Philosophy. So you could reach out to them, and we'll get you the information you need.
What have you heard, Dr. Mason, from people who have found out that Fort Hays State is going to do this? I would think that there's a great deal of excitement about it.
Yeah, so we got great reviews from the Kansas Board of Regents.
Good.
And some of our colleagues even gave us a shout out. I personally know some of the students that are very excited about this. And again, I just am elated from so many perspectives, not only in serving the needs of the community, but just watching our campus colleagues come together and do something new and exciting and relevant and needed, and forming their own new relationships across campus as well, and not need resources in a really tough time with the legislature to do this is really remarkable.